Listen up. I am not here to waste your time with empty words or fancy quotes that sound good but change nothing. I am here because I have been where you are, and I know exactly what it feels like to be lost. If you are in your 20s, or even if you have already crossed that line, there are cold, hard truths that nobody told you. These are not the kind of things that trend on social media because they are not pretty. They are not the things your teachers talked about, and they are definitely not the things your parents knew how to explain. These are the lessons you learn the hard way, usually after too many sleepless nights, broken hearts, and years of pretending that everything is fine. If you do not hear these now, you are going to spend the next 5 years running in circles, making the same mistakes I did. This is not a motivational speech. This is the raw truth. We are going to use these life lessons to sharpen your English and, more importantly, to wake up your potential. If you stick with me until the end, your perspective on your future will shift forever. Let us begin. Lesson 1. Nobody is coming to save you. It sounds harsh, right? But listen closely. You keep waiting for the right moment, the right person, or the right job to fix your life. You think, maybe if I meet the right partner, I will finally feel complete. Maybe if my boss notices me, my career will take off. Maybe if I just wait a little longer, things will magically get better. I need to be honest with you. Nobody is coming. Your friends are busy with their own problems. Your family is trying to figure out their own path. And that boss you are waiting on? They are only looking out for themselves. The day you realize this is the day you actually grow up. It hurts, yes, but it is also the most liberating feeling in the world. Once you accept that you are the only one who can change your life, you stop blaming the world and you start building your own foundation. You stop waiting for a savior and you become your own. Look at anyone you admire, anyone who has truly made it. They did not wait for a miracle. They looked in the mirror and said, if I do not do this, it will never get done. They stopped being a victim of their circumstances and became the architect of their own future. When you stop waiting, you find your purpose. And once you find your purpose, you do not need to be saved anymore. You are finally free. Actionable step. Today, write down one thing you have been waiting for someone else to do for you. Then, write down one small step you can take yourself to get that result. Stop waiting, start doing. Lesson 2. Your social circle is either your fuel or your anchor. You are not as independent as you tell yourself. We are social creatures by nature, and whether you like it or not, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Think about your current squad. When you talk to them, what are you talking about? Are you discussing big ideas, new skills, and how to improve your life? Or are you spending hours gossiping, complaining about your boss, or just killing time at the same local spots? If you are surrounded by people who are content with being average, you will slowly start to see mediocrity as a standard. It happens quietly. You might have a goal to start a business or get fit, but if your friends laugh at you for staying in on a Friday night or mock your ambition, you will eventually cave. You will lose that fire because you are trying to keep your light burning in a room full of people blowing it out. It is not that they are bad people. It is just that they are not going where you are going. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine being in a room with people who challenge you, people who are reading books, launching projects, and pushing their limits. You will feel that pressure to step up. Suddenly, your goals do not seem so crazy anymore. Your mindset shifts because their mindset is contagious. Your environment is the silent architect of your life. If you stay in a crowd that keeps you small, you will never see how tall you can actually grow. Choose your inner circle like your future depends on it, because it does. Actionable step. Look at the last 5 people you texted or hung out with. Do they pull you up? Or do they hold you back? Be honest. If they hold you back, you do not have to be mean, but you do need to start spending less time with them and more time with people who inspire you to be better. Lesson 3. Your 20s are for planting, not just playing. Let us get something straight. You are not missing out on life by choosing to focus on your growth during your 20s. In fact, you are building the kind of life that others will be envious of later on. Most people spend this decade chasing cheap thrills, quick validation, and the kind of fun that leaves them empty by Monday morning. They are addicted to the dopamine hit of a party or a viral post, thinking that success will somehow just land in their lap once they hit 30. But here is the reality. What seeds are they actually planting? If you spend your 20s purely on pleasure, you will reach 30 feeling broke, tired, and honestly, a bit lost. You will look at the people who stayed focused and wonder how they got so far ahead, forgetting that while you were busy scrolling and partying, they were busy building. This decade is your foundation. It is the soil where your future is grown. You can either use this time to escape the hard work or use it to evolve into a version of yourself that is actually capable of handling success. I am not saying you should never have a good time. Go out, laugh, and enjoy your youth. But build while you do it. Master a skill, get your finances in order, read books that challenge your thinking, and get your body in shape. Build a version of yourself that does not need a weekend to feel alive, because you are already living a life you are proud of. If you plant the seeds of discipline today, your 30s will be your harvest. If you do not, you will wake up in a few years wondering why you are still starving. Actionable step. Identify one skill that could change your income or your life in the next 3 years. Commit to practicing it for just 30 minutes every single day, no matter what. That is a seed. Keep planting it. Lesson 4. If you do not master your emotions, they will master you. I used to be a walking reaction. If someone sent me a dry text, I felt disrespected. If a friend went out without me, I felt unwanted. If I hit a snag in my day, I felt like the universe was personally attacking me. And you know what that got me? A life full of unnecessary drama, burnt bridges, and missed opportunities. Every decision I made was fueled by fear, insecurity, or anger. I was not the driver of my own life. My feelings were, and they were driving me straight into a wall. Here is the truth that changed everything for me. Emotions are real, but they are not always right. Just because you feel rejected does not mean you are not worthy. Just because you feel angry does not mean you have to lash out. I learned to practice the pause. Instead of firing back an angry reply in 3 seconds, I started waiting 30 minutes. Instead of letting a bad mood ruin my whole day, I started journaling or just going for a walk to clear my head. I learned to breathe through the storm instead of letting the storm drown me. If you cannot handle your own emotions in your 20s, they will ruin your 30s. They will sabotage your relationships, your job interviews, and your mental health. Not because you are not smart, but because you are too volatile to be trusted with your own future. Your emotions should be in the passenger seat, not holding the steering wheel. Your wisdom should be driving. Start observing your feelings instead of becoming them. When you learn to respond with logic rather than reacting with drama, you gain a kind of peace that most people spend their whole lives chasing. Actionable step. Next time you feel a strong negative emotion like anger or frustration, do not act on it. Take 5 deep breaths and ask yourself, is this feeling based on facts, or is it just my ego talking? Give yourself 10 minutes of silence before you say or do anything. Lesson 5. Being busy is not the same as being productive. You can spend your entire day running in circles and still end up at the same starting line. I used to be the king of fake productivity. I would wake up, check my phone, and fill my to-do list with a dozen tiny, meaningless tasks. I answered every email, I joined every call, and I said yes to every request that came my way. By the end of the day, I was completely drained, yet I had absolutely nothing to show for it. I was in motion, but I was not making progress. One day, a mentor looked at my schedule and told me, "You are not busy, you are just distracted." That hit me like a ton of bricks. I was choosing comfort over growth. I was doing busy work to avoid the deep, difficult work that actually moved the needle. Think about it. Are you really working toward your goals, or are you just keeping yourself occupied so you do not have to face the fear of failing at something that actually matters? Real productivity is not about how many boxes you check off. It is about the impact of the work you do. Let us say your goal is to build a business. You could spend 4 hours editing your resume for the 10th time, or scrolling through tutorials telling yourself you are preparing. That is busy work. Or you could spend those 4 hours reaching out to potential clients or creating something real. That is progress. One is safe and comfortable. The other is scary and demanding. Stop confusing motion with progress. If you are always moving but never growing, you are just running on a treadmill. Look at your day like a map. Are you walking in circles to impress yourself with how fast you move? Or are you heading in a direction that actually changes your life? Actionable step. Tomorrow, identify your one most important task, the one that actually moves the needle. Do that task first, before you check your email, before you scroll your phone, and before you say yes to anyone else. Protect that time. That is where your future is being built. Lesson 6. Not everyone is meant to be a permanent part of your story. This is a tough pill to swallow, but it is one you need to take. We are raised on the idea that loyalty means holding on to friends and partners at all costs, even when the connection has turned toxic. We think that history matters more than our own peace of mind. But let me be real with you. Some people are only meant to be a chapter, not the whole book. Some show up to teach you a lesson, some arrive to test your boundaries, and a few rare ones stay to walk the long road with you. I spent years keeping people in my life who I had clearly outgrown. I made excuses for their lack of respect, I ignored the red flags, and I convinced myself that I owed them my loyalty. Every time I held on, I lost a little bit of myself. My confidence took a hit, my goals got pushed to the background, and I dimmed my own light just so they wouldn't feel uncomfortable. One day, I finally realized that if keeping someone else in my life meant losing touch with who I really am, then the price was way too high. Walking away from people who drain your energy is not being cold or selfish. It is an act of self-preservation. You are not responsible for carrying everyone else's baggage, and you are definitely not required to keep doors open for people who constantly make you feel small. When you let go of the people who belong in your past, you create space for the people who belong in your future. If someone's presence feels like a heavy weight rather than a breath of fresh air, it is time to say your thank yous and move on. Your energy is sacred. Stop giving it away to people who do not know how to value it. Actionable step. Take a look at your phone contacts or your inner circle. Is there someone whose name makes your stomach tighten when you see a notification? You do not have to start a fight, but you do need to start setting firm boundaries or distancing yourself. Protect your peace. It is the most valuable thing you own. Lesson 7. If you do not heal your past, you will bleed on people who did not hurt you. Pain does not simply vanish because time passes. It buries itself deep inside, waiting for the right moment to surface. When you refuse to face your old wounds, they find other ways to manifest. You might see it in the way you push people away the moment they get too close, or how you constantly seek validation because you were made to feel invisible years ago. You might be the person who rejects others before they have a chance to reject you, all because you are terrified of being vulnerable again. It is not your fault that you were hurt, but it is 100% your responsibility to make sure that hurt does not become your identity. Many people try to mask their trauma by being high achievers, working themselves to the bone, or laughing louder than anyone else at the party. They keep saying, "I am fine, I have moved on." But deep down, the cracks are still there. You cannot build a solid, powerful future on a foundation of unhealed trauma, because every time you try to reach for something bigger, those old insecurities will pull you back down. Your relationships will suffer, your confidence will crumble, and you will feel stuck. Not because the world is against you, but because you are still carrying the weight of yesterday. Healing is not a sign of weakness. It is the ultimate form of wisdom. It means sitting with your pain until it loses its power over you. It means forgiving people who never offered an apology, not for their sake, but for your own peace. You do not need more motivation right now. You need more self-awareness. You need to be brave enough to look at what you are carrying and ask yourself, is this still serving me? Until you face the shadows of your past, they will continue to dictate your future in ways you do not even see. Actionable step. Set aside 10 minutes tonight to sit in complete silence. Grab a notebook and write down the one memory or feeling that still triggers you the most. Do not run from it. Just write it down, acknowledge it, and consciously decide that it no longer has permission to control your life. That is the first step toward true healing. Lesson 8. Discipline is not a punishment, it is self-respect in action. When people hear the word discipline, they usually picture a miserable life. They think of waking up at 4 in the morning, cutting out everything they love, and living like a robot. But that is not what real discipline is. Real discipline is simply a way of saying, I respect my future self too much to betray my goals today. Every time you say you are going to start something and then you push it off until tomorrow, you are teaching your brain that your word means nothing. You are slowly killing your own self-respect. Think about it. Every time you hit the snooze button because your bed feels more comfortable than your dreams, you are making a choice. You are choosing short-term comfort over long-term growth. When you spend hours scrolling through your phone instead of doing the work you promised yourself you would do, you are telling your subconscious that your future does not actually matter. Discipline is not about being perfect or strict. It is about being loyal to the person you promised you would become. If you want to win, whether in your career, your health, or your mindset, you do not need more passion. You need more consistency. Passion is just a spark. It feels good for a moment, but it dies out quickly. Discipline is the engine that keeps you moving when the excitement is gone. The people who actually succeed are not always the smartest or the most gifted people in the room. They are the ones who are willing to do the boring, repetitive work day after day, while everyone else was busy looking for a shortcut. Stop waiting to feel ready. Start training your discipline like a muscle. Start small, stay consistent, and watch how your life transforms. Actionable step. Pick one habit you have been avoiding, something simple like reading for 10 minutes or doing a quick workout. Do it at the exact same time every single day for the next week, even when you really do not feel like it, especially when you do not feel like it. That is how you build a life you can be proud of. Lesson 9. Social media is a highlight reel, not a reality check. Every single morning, you reach for your phone before you even get out of bed. Within seconds, you are blasted with images of people living their best lives, traveling to exotic places, buying luxury homes, and hitting career milestones that seem light years ahead of where you are. It is easy to look at those screens and feel like you are failing. You start to whisper to yourself, why am I so far behind? Why is everyone else winning while I am still stuck? But you have to realize that you are comparing your behind-the-scenes struggles to someone else's carefully curated performance. Social media is designed to keep you scrolling, not to keep you growing. It feeds you a steady diet of dopamine that leaves you feeling more anxious, more disconnected, and more insecure than you were before you opened the app. Behind that perfect photo is a story you never see. The debt, the crippling anxiety, the loneliness, or the fake smiles used to mask a deeper emptiness. It is not an honest reflection of life. It is a business model built on your attention. Every hour you spend watching someone else live is an hour you are stealing from your own progress. You need to take back the wheel. Start by limiting your screen time and unfollowing anyone who makes you feel less than you are. Take days off to reconnect with your own goals and your own sanity. Stop looking for likes and start looking for clarity. Your life is not a copycat version of someone else's feed. It is meant to be something deeper and more authentic. You are not behind. You are simply distracted. Once you put the phone down and start creating your own life instead of consuming theirs, you will realize that you have been moving forward all along. Actionable step. For the next 3 days, try a digital detox. No social media before noon and no scrolling in bed. Use that time to sit in silence, read a book, or plan your day. See how much clearer your mind feels when you stop letting the world dictate your mood. Lesson 10. Success is not a stroke of luck. It is a collection of tiny, quiet wins. People love to talk about luck. They look at someone who has built something great and say, they just got lucky. They had the right connections, or they were in the right place at the right time. But they never see the thousands of hours spent grinding when the world was asleep. They do not see the rejections, the failed attempts, or the years of obscurity where nobody was clapping, nobody was watching, and nobody cared. Real success is built in the shadows, far away from the spotlight. Consider someone who wants to become a writer. Their friends might tell them it is a waste of time, that the market is too crowded, or that they should just get a normal job. But this person wakes up at 5 every morning and writes 500 words. No one reads them, no one praises them, and there is no instant gratification. They do this for 2 years straight. Then, one day, they release a book, and it blows up. The world calls it an overnight success. But it was not overnight. It was 700 mornings of discipline in silence. That is what winning actually looks like. It is slow, it is lonely, and it is incredibly boring to anyone looking for a shortcut. Your future is being shaped right now by the small things you choose to do or ignore. Every day you skip the gym, your health takes a hit. Every day you put off that hard skill, your dream slips further away. Every day you choose the easy path, your potential fades just a little bit more. But every day you show up, even when you are tired, even when you are frustrated, even when you feel like quitting, you are planting seeds that will eventually bloom into something massive. Stop waiting for a lucky break. Start building a track record of consistency. Success is not an accident. It is a decision you make every single day when no one is watching. Actionable step. What is one small, boring task that you know you need to do to reach your goal? Do it today and do it again tomorrow. Do not look for applause. Just focus on the process. When you fall in love with the work rather than the result, success becomes inevitable. Lesson 11. Your ability to focus is the ultimate superpower in a distracted world. Most people today are not exhausted because they are working too hard. They are exhausted because their minds are constantly jumping from one thing to the next. You pick up your phone to check a quick message, and 45 minutes later, you have watched 5 videos, liked 10 posts, and completely forgotten why you even touched the device in the first place. Your attention span is being shredded, and yet you tell yourself you are just busy. Let us be real. That is not productivity. That is addiction. And if you do not break that cycle, your biggest goals will stay nothing more than daydreams. Here is the truth. Whatever controls your attention controls your life. Think about 2 people waking up at 6 in the morning. Person A rolls over, grabs their phone, and spends half an hour scrolling through everyone else's business. By the time they actually get moving, their brain is already cluttered with noise, and they feel like they are starting the day behind. Person B leaves their phone untouched. They sit down, pick one meaningful task, and work on it for 90 minutes with 0 notifications. By 8 o'clock, they have already accomplished more than most people do in a week. 3 years down the line, Person A is still saying, "I will start soon." Person B is unrecognizable, sharper, calmer, and miles ahead. Why? Because they protected their focus like it was gold. We live in a world that profits from your distraction. Every app and notification is fighting for a piece of your mind, Because your attention is the most valuable currency on earth. If you do not own your focus, someone else will. It is a muscle that needs training. It is time to stop letting the noise steal your life. Actionable step. Tomorrow morning, put your phone in another room for the first hour of your day. Use that time to do one deep, focused task. It will feel uncomfortable at first, but that discomfort is the feeling of your brain getting stronger. Protect your focus, and you become unstoppable. Lesson 12. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. Everyone wants the big win. We all want the freedom, the success, and the peace of mind. But here is the brutal truth. Your goals are just fantasies if your daily habits are working against them. If your goal is to get in shape, but your daily habit is to skip the gym and eat junk food, your goal is nothing but a nice thought. If you want to build a business, but your habit is to binge watch series every single night instead of learning a new skill, that business will never leave the ground. Your life is not a reflection of what you say you want. It is a direct reflection of what you do consistently. The trap most of us fall into is thinking that success requires one massive heroic action. We get hyped up, set an ambitious goal, and stay motivated for a day or two. But once the initial excitement fades, we go right back to our old, comfortable routines because we never actually changed the system. Real change does not happen overnight. It happens through the tiny, invisible patterns you repeat every single day. If you want a different life, you have to start by changing your days. You do not need to overhaul your entire life in one go. That is how you burn out. Instead, focus on the micro habits. Do not say, I will work out for 2 hours. Say, I will do 20 push-ups every morning. Do not say, I will write a novel. Say, I will write 200 words before I eat lunch. These tiny actions might seem insignificant, but over time, they stack up. They build a momentum that is impossible to stop. Success is just a collection of thousands of small, boring actions done without applause. Audit your habits honestly. If they do not align with the future you are chasing, change the system. Your habits are the foundation of everything. If the foundation is solid, nothing can knock you down. Actionable step. Pick one tiny habit that supports your biggest goal. Make it so easy that you cannot say no to it, like reading just 1 page or doing 1 minute of exercise. Do it every single day for 30 days. When you master the small stuff, the big stuff starts taking care of itself. Lesson 13. Your self-talk is the most powerful voice you will ever hear. Every day, you are having a conversation with yourself, whether you realize it or not. The words you use in that internal dialogue are either building you up or tearing you down. Most people walk around with a toxic inner critic that never shuts up. They say things like, I always mess this up. I am not smart enough. Or I will never be as good as them. They repeat these negative scripts inside their heads constantly, and eventually their mind starts to believe it. It becomes your identity. You start looking for proof that you are failing, and you end up sabotaging your own success because, deep down, you think failure is what you deserve. Let me give you a clear example. Imagine 2 people studying for a big exam. They have the same intelligence and the same resources. But person A keeps telling themselves, I am probably going to fail. I am not ready. Person B says, I have prepared. I can handle this. Even before the exam begins, person A's brain is locked in a state of anxiety and panic, while person B's brain is focused and calm. Who do you think is going to perform better? It is not about raw talent. It is about the story you tell yourself. Your words create your reality. If you keep feeding your brain negativity, you will get a negative result. So start training your internal voice. When you catch yourself saying, I cannot do this, change it to, I am learning how to do this. When you think, I am not good enough, replace it with, I am getting better every single day. This is not just fluff or fake positivity. This is mental discipline. You are learning to become your own greatest ally instead of your own biggest enemy. You can have all the opportunities in the world, but if your inner voice is constantly tearing you down, you will never rise. Start speaking to yourself like someone you are actually responsible for helping. Actionable step. For the next week, become aware of your negative thoughts. Every time you catch yourself being harsh, stop and rephrase it into something empowering. Treat your mind like a garden. If you do not plant positive seeds, the weeds will take over. Lesson 14. If you cannot sit with boredom, you will never sit with greatness. We live in a world that is terrified of a quiet moment. The second we have a spare second, we reach for our phones to scroll, watch, or listen to something. We are constantly looking for a hit of stimulation to keep the silence at bay. But here is the secret that nobody tells you. Boredom is actually where the breakthrough begins. Greatness is not born in the middle of a loud, busy environment. It is born in the stillness, in the repetition, and in the depth that only comes when you are willing to sit alone with your thoughts. Think about the people who truly excel at what they do. Writers become great by spending hours in silence, putting words on a page when no one is watching. Athletes become champions by performing the same movement over and over until it is perfect. Entrepreneurs build empires, not by chasing the next exciting trend, but by solving the same boring problems with patience and grit. If you run away the moment things get tedious, you will never develop the depth required to master anything. You will just jump from one shiny object to the next, always looking for excitement, but never finding mastery. Let me give you a real-world example. Two people decide to learn a new language. Person A watches fun, fast-paced videos and quits the moment the grammar starts to feel repetitive or difficult. Person B listens to the same 10 sentences every single day, reads the same story 20 times, and speaks slowly to themselves in the mirror. 6 months later, Person A has tried everything but knows nothing. Person B is fluent. Why? Because Person B was not afraid of the boredom. They embraced it as part of the process. Boredom is not your enemy. It is the filter that separates the people who want entertainment from the people who want excellence. If you want a powerful future, you must be willing to do the boring work with consistency, patience, and faith. On the other side of boredom is mastery, and on the other side of mastery is true freedom. Actionable step. Tomorrow, find 15 minutes where you do absolutely nothing. No phone, no music, no distractions. Just sit. Your brain will scream for stimulation, but do not give in. Use that time to observe your thoughts. Practice being still. When you learn to master your attention in the silence, you become unstoppable in the noise. Lesson 15. You do not need to prove your worth to anyone. From the time we are kids, we are taught to perform. Get the best grades, win the competition, be the one everyone notices. We start building our identity around external validation, measuring our value by how many people clap, how many followers we have, or how many compliments we receive. But here is the catch. When your self-worth is rented from other people's opinions, you are constantly on edge. Every time someone criticizes you, you collapse. Every time you are ignored, you feel invisible. You are living your life for an audience that does not even care. The most powerful people I have ever met do not walk into a room with a need to explain themselves. They do not shout about their success because they already know their value. They are rooted in silence, not in noise. Think about someone who spends years quietly mastering their craft. They do not post daily updates or look for cheap praise. They just improve, refine, and build. One day, their work breaks through, and people ask, where did they come from? The truth is, they were always there. They just did not feel the need to broadcast their every move to feel important. In your 20s, the urge to prove yourself can be overwhelming. You want the world to see your potential. But true power does not come from being seen. It comes from seeing yourself clearly and knowing your worth regardless of the applause. When you stop editing your life for an audience, you finally get to live on your own terms. Build in silence. Let your results speak for you. Remember, the tallest trees do not grow the loudest. They just grow. Actionable step. Identify one area of your life where you are currently acting just to impress others. Now, decide to stop. For the next week, do that thing for yourself and yourself only. See how much lighter you feel when you stop carrying the weight of other people's expectations. Lesson 16. Avoiding discomfort is the fastest way to a painful life. We are wired to run from anything that feels awkward, scary, or difficult. We postpone those honest conversations. We avoid learning a new skill because we might look like a beginner. And we stay in jobs that drain us just because quitting feels too risky. We tell ourselves we are playing it safe, but in reality, we are just trading short-term comfort for long-term misery. Avoiding the hard stuff might feel like peace for a moment, but it creates a mountain of problems that will eventually come crashing down on you. Think about someone who stays silent in a relationship because they are afraid of a confrontation. They swallow their feelings, they tolerate disrespect, and they pretend everything is fine. 2 years later, they are emotionally burnt out, resentful, and completely stuck. The pain they are feeling then is 10 times heavier than the discomfort they were trying to avoid in the first place. It is the same in your career. If you avoid the discomfort of learning something new because you think you are not ready, you will wake up 5 years from now in the exact same spot, watching everyone else grow, while you are left behind, angry and lost. Discomfort is not your enemy. It is your compass. It is a signal that you are moving towards something that actually matters. That awkward conversation can lead to a deeper connection. That hard workout builds the discipline you need to succeed. That moment of silence where you face your own fears is what gives you clarity. The biggest mistake you can make is thinking a comfortable life is a good life. A meaningful life is built by choosing the hard path on purpose, because you know what is waiting on the other side. Stop running from the things that scare you. Start walking straight through them. Pain does not destroy you. Avoidance does. Actionable step. Identify one thing you have been avoiding today. A phone call, a project, or a conversation. Do it right now, before you let your brain talk you out of it. Experience the discomfort and realize that you are still standing on the other side. That is how you build resilience. Lesson 17. If you keep waiting to feel ready, you will spend your entire life waiting. There is a dangerous lie that almost everyone falls for. I will start when I am ready. But here is the truth. Readiness is a complete illusion. No one ever feels fully prepared to launch a business, walk away from a toxic situation, move to a new city, or chase a massive dream. We keep looking for that perfect moment when the fear disappears, our confidence is at its peak, and the stars finally align. But that moment never arrives. What people call readiness is really just a desire for safety. And growth? Growth never happens when you are playing it safe. Look at someone who has been talking about starting a side project for years. They have the plan, they have the passion, but they keep saying, I just need to learn a bit more. I just need to wait until things calm down. Another year passes, then another. Now they are older, more tired, and even more discouraged. It is not because they lacked the ability. It is because they were waiting for a feeling that would never come. Confidence is not a prerequisite for action. It is a result of action. You build it by stepping into the unknown, not by standing on the sidelines preparing. Starting before you feel ready is not being reckless. It is being courageous. When you take that first step while your hands are shaking and your heart is racing, you learn, you adjust, and you build real muscle. When you wait, you are just feeding your fear and letting your doubt grow stronger. Your future is not going to show up at your door because you feel prepared. It will only arrive when you are bold enough to go out and meet it. Stop waiting for the perfect conditions. They do not exist. Your job is not to feel ready. Your job is to move anyway. Actionable step. Take one action today for a goal you have been putting off. It does not have to be a big move. Just do something. Send that email, write that page, or make that call. Do it even if you feel scared. That is how you prove to yourself that you are in control. Lesson 18. Nobody is thinking about you as much as you think they are. We are all trapped in a mental prison called "What will they say?" You want to post that project, speak your mind, or change your career path, but you stop because you are terrified of judgment. You rehearse 100 scenarios in your head about what people will think, how they will criticize you, or how they will laugh behind your back. But here is the freedom you have been missing. Most people are not thinking about you at all. They are too busy worrying about their own insecurities, their own bills, their own failures, and their own reputations. You are a background character in their massive world, yet you live your life like you are under a spotlight 24/7. You shrink your dreams and stay silent, just to avoid the gaze of people who are not even watching. Let us imagine you share something you truly care about online. You fear the worst. You imagine a storm of criticism, but in reality, one person likes it, 2 people scroll past it, and the rest forget it by the time they get to dinner. You just wasted an entire day worrying about something that was forgotten in 5 seconds. The opinion of someone else cannot pay your bills, it cannot build your future, and it certainly cannot define your value. You are not here to be universally accepted. You are here to be authentically yourself. When you stop editing your life for an audience that is not even paying attention, you finally start to see yourself clearly. That clarity is where your real life begins. Stop living for the crowd. Start living for your own path. Once you realize that the spotlight is mostly in your own head, you are finally free to do whatever you want. Actionable step. Do one small thing today that you have been avoiding because of what others might think. Wear that outfit, post that idea, or start that conversation. Notice how the world does not end. Notice how you feel lighter. That is the feeling of taking your life back. Lesson 19. Peace is found when you stop chasing closure. Life does not always hand you a neat ending. People will hurt you and never say they are sorry. Relationships will end without a goodbye. Great opportunities will vanish into thin air, and questions you have about why things happened will remain unanswered. If you spend your energy hunting for closure in every messy situation, you are just going to keep yourself stuck in the past. You are essentially begging for an apology or an explanation from people who have already moved on. Here is the reality. Closure is a gift you give to yourself, not something you get from others. You do not need to understand every detail of why a friendship faded or why a door closed. You only need to accept that it is over and choose to keep moving. The more time you spend replaying the tape, wondering what you did wrong or why they changed, the more you are letting that situation steal your present. They are not thinking about it, but you are still letting it live rent-free in your head. True peace comes from the ability to walk away without needing the last word or the final justification. It means forgiving people who aren't even sorry, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve to be free. It means setting boundaries and deciding that your curiosity about the past is not worth your peace of mind. You don't need a final conversation to get over something. You just need to decide that the next chapter is more important than the last. When you stop demanding answers from a world that rarely provides them, you finally reclaim your power. Actionable step. Think of one situation or person that still keeps you stuck in the why. Write down a final sentence for that chapter, close the notebook, and literally say out loud, "I don't need to understand everything to move forward." Then, focus entirely on what you are building today. Lesson 20. Stop waiting for motivation. Build a machine instead. Let us be real. Motivation is a total lie. It is a wave that comes and goes. And if you only show up when you feel inspired, you are going to get nowhere fast. Some days you will wake up feeling like a champion, and other days you will feel like you want to stay in bed for a week. If your success depends on your mood, your life will always be a mess of inconsistency. The secret is not to find more motivation. It is to stop being a creature of mood and start being a machine of design. Think about two people with the same goal, becoming financially independent. Person A waits for that spark of inspiration. They work hard for 2 days, then hit a wall, feel tired, and quit for the rest of the month. They spend their time looking for more hacks or motivational clips, blaming their failure on a lack of willpower. Person B, however, understands that feelings are irrelevant. They show up at 6 in the morning, even when they are exhausted. They build when no one is watching, and they keep going even when the results are invisible. They do not rely on a feeling, they rely on a schedule. A year later, Person A is in the exact same spot, still stuck in the cycle of starting and stopping. Person B has built a momentum that is now automatic. That is the difference. You need to design your life so well that your default behavior is progress, not pause. This does not mean you have to be a cold robot. It just means you need to build systems that handle the days when you are feeling low. When you stop chasing the high of motivation and start relying on the strength of your design, you become unstoppable. Greatness is not built when you are excited. It is built when you are tired, but you show up anyway. Actionable step. Stop asking yourself if you feel like doing your work. It does not matter. Create a non-negotiable schedule for your most important tasks. Treat these tasks like a doctor's appointment you cannot miss. When you remove the choice, you remove the excuse. Lesson 21. Define your own success, or the world will force its version on you. From the moment you start growing up, society is whispering in your ear about what a successful life looks like. You need to get the degree, land the stable job, buy the house, get married by 30, and climb the corporate ladder as fast as you can. If you follow that path without ever pausing to ask if it is actually what you want, you are going to wake up at 40 with a life that looks great on paper but feels empty inside. That is not success. That is just imitation. Think about someone who becomes a lawyer or a doctor, not because they have a passion for it, but because their family or friends told them it was the right thing to do. They spend years grinding, sacrificing their youth to get the credentials, but every single morning they wake up feeling disconnected and drained. Why? Because they climbed the mountain only to realize it was the wrong one. The saddest part is that they are too afraid to admit it because they think it is too late to turn back. But it is never too late to reclaim your life. The longer you wait to define success for yourself, the more time you spend building a life designed to impress others instead of fulfilling you. Ask yourself, what does a truly successful day look like for me? Is my idea of success tied to a paycheck, or is it tied to the meaning I create? Am I living by my own design, or am I just following a default script written by someone else? If you cannot answer these questions, step back, recalibrate. Nothing is more painful than achieving a life you never actually wanted. You do not need to follow the herd. You need to follow your own sense of clarity. Once you define success on your own terms, every step you take becomes yours. That is where real freedom starts. Actionable step. Take a blank sheet of paper and write down 3 things that, if you achieved them, would make you feel truly proud. Not what your parents or peers expect, but what you actually value. If your current path doesn't lead to those 3 things, it is time to start asking some hard questions about where you are heading. Lesson 22. Your brain becomes whatever you feed it. We all understand the basics of physical health. We know that junk food makes us sluggish and that regular exercise builds strength. We accept that what we put into our bodies directly dictates how we feel and function. Yet most people completely ignore this rule when it comes to their minds. Your brain is consuming information every single second of the day. The videos you watch, the people you listen to, the books you read, and the conversations you engage in. This is your mental diet, and it is shaping your emotional stability, your creativity, and your ability to think clearly when things get tough. Imagine someone who spends their mornings scrolling through rage bait, toxic gossip, and endless negativity. They are constantly reacting to drama, violence, and chaos. Over time, their thought patterns shift. They become more suspicious, more reactive, and more anxious, often without even realizing it because the decay is so gradual. On the other hand, imagine someone who protects their inputs like a vault. They start their day with silence or deep learning. They follow thinkers who challenge them. They cut out toxic conversations, and they protect their focus as if it were the most valuable thing they own. A year later, this person sees the world through an entirely different lens. They respond instead of reacting. They create instead of complaining. In your 20s, your mind is in its prime. It is flexible and ready to grow. But if you keep feeding it digital garbage and emotional poison, do not be surprised when your peace of mind vanishes and your focus fades. You need to audit your consumption. Ask yourself every single day, is this input making me sharper or is it making me slower? Your mind is a garden. It will grow whatever you plant in it. If you do not consciously plant something powerful, the weeds will take over before you even notice. Actionable step. Do a media audit today. Unfollow or mute any accounts that consistently leave you feeling drained, angry, or inadequate. Replace that noise with just one source of high-quality information: a book, a podcast, or a newsletter that actually forces you to think. Feed your mind like you are training for a marathon, because your future depends on the quality of your thoughts. Lesson 23. Your character is built in the dark, not on the stage. Anyone can play the part of a hero when the sun is shining and everything is going their way. It is easy to be kind when you are happy, easy to be confident when you are winning, and easy to post about your success when you have an audience cheering you on. But what happens when the lights go out? What happens when you are broke, rejected, misunderstood, and absolutely exhausted? When you are putting in the work and seeing zero results? That is the moment your real character is exposed. The world rarely teaches you this, but you are not defined by your highlight reel. You are defined by how you handle yourself when you are in the middle of a storm. Think about two people facing the same hardship. One person crumbles, they complain, they blame the world, and they quit the second things get tough. The other person pauses, takes a deep breath, accepts the pain, and keeps grinding without needing anyone to see them do it. Which one do you respect more? Hardship is not just a test, it is a mirror. It shows you exactly who you are when nobody is watching. If life is hitting you hard right now, ask yourself, am I still being honest when it costs me something? Am I still being kind when others are being cruel? Am I still pushing forward even when the finish line is nowhere in sight? That is the foundation of a life that actually matters. Your degrees, your bank account, and your resume can all vanish in a heartbeat. But your values, your integrity, and your inner strength are untouchable if you build them the right way. In the end, people won't remember how loud you were when you were winning. They will remember how quiet, steady, and unbreakable you were when everything was falling apart. Build your character like a mountain, so that when the storms hit, you don't just survive them, you endure. Actionable step. The next time you face a small inconvenience or a moment of frustration, don't react with anger. Choose to be the person you want to be remembered as. Practice integrity in the small, invisible moments. That is where a strong character is forged. Lesson 24. Your body is the vessel for your future. If it breaks, everything else goes with it. We often treat our bodies like they are machines that will run forever without any maintenance. We pull all-nighters for things that do not matter. We fuel ourselves with processed junk because it is convenient. And we sit for hours on end, forgetting that we were meant to move. We call this hustling, but in reality, it is just a slow way of sabotaging our own potential. Your energy, your ability to focus, your creativity, and even your mood are all tied to your biology. You cannot expect to build a massive, life-changing future if the engine that powers you is constantly running on empty. Look at the people who have climbed the mountain only to burn out at the top. They reached their financial goals, but they lost the health that was supposed to help them enjoy it. Their sleep is destroyed, their minds are foggy, and they are fighting health battles they could have easily prevented years ago. Do not be that person. You do not need to be a fitness model, but you do need to respect your body like a professional respects their tools. Sleep is not a luxury, it is a requirement. Movement is not a chore, it is a way to clear your head. Drinking water, getting some sunlight, and stretching your muscles, these are the things that keep you sharp. When your body is strong, your mind becomes unstoppable. When your mind is clear, your future becomes limitless. Health is not just about how you look in the mirror, it is about access. It is about having the energy to show up, the clarity to solve hard problems, and the joy to actually appreciate the life you are building. Without your health, every other success will eventually collapse. With it, you become a force that does not fade. Treat your body with the respect it deserves, and it will carry you through every challenge you face. Actionable step. Start with the basics today. Commit to 7 hours of quality sleep. Drink a glass of water as soon as you wake up, and go for a 15-minute walk. Stop treating these as optional. They are the non-negotiables that keep your machine running. Lesson 25. You only get one shot, so stop living like you have forever. This is the most sobering truth of all. Your time is not infinite. We walk around acting like we have all the time in the world, thinking that we will finally get our act together in 5 years, or 10, or whenever we feel ready. But life does not wait for you to figure it out. If you live to be 80, that is roughly 4,000 weeks. Now, subtract your childhood, and subtract the years you have already spent drifting through distractions, fear, and comparison. How much do you actually have left? You do not have forever. You have right now. The danger is that most people do not realize how fast life moves until they are 60, looking back with a heavy heart and wondering where the fire went. They realize they played it too safe, settled for too little, and let fear dictate their path. They realize they waited for a someday that never came. That is why urgency is not panic, it is purpose. Urgency means you stop wasting your energy on drama that does not matter. It means you stop negotiating with your own potential. It means you start acting like this week actually counts, because it does. If you live with this kind of awareness, every day becomes meaningful. Every step you take feels intentional. You stop just existing and start living fiercely, deeply, and fully. The clock is ticking. Not to scare you, but to wake you up. Regret is a heavy burden, and by the time you feel it, it is often too late to change the course of your story. So do it now. Start now. Live now. This is your one shot, and one day you will either look back and say, I wish I had, or you will say, I am so glad I did. Make sure it is the second one. If this message touched your heart or opened your eyes to a new way of living, please subscribe to my channel. Let us commit to changing our lives together. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one.